let's take a look at the next project. We are taking a look at different energy producing or taking part in electricity distribution network. Since there's a large chain, we're taking a look at. Sometimes it can be even storage of electricity. It could be distribution of electricity. It could be use of electricity. What if anything, we're taking a look at electricity and perhaps some of the new and exciting opportunities out there. I have covered a number of projects already. Within this video, I'm going to be taking a look at AquaDuctus transport pipeline for green hydrogen from the North Sea. Since the demand of electricity will most likely would increase with uh, just because of perhaps if I have to, there's many reasons, right? Perhaps demand in heating, demand in cooling, perhaps demand in the logistics when we are talking or taking a look at different logistic solutions and electricity taking part in vehicle and battery technology and its improvement in that. So there's going to be increase in electricity to increase tackle perhaps current ways how energy is being produced. Perhaps there's different projects. It's something myself I'm taking a look at and trying to understand new projects, how they're looking to capture some of that energy. So there's a was wind, right? There was wave. Different number of different projects how they're looking to capture that electricity and later transfer that. Yeah, within this one, let's try to understand how they're looking to establish and work towards capturing some of that energy within this project. The future of the offshore AquaDuctus pipeline will transform green hydrogen from the North Sea directly to the mainland. It's a part of AquaVentus initiative, which plans to install 10 gigawatts of electrolysis capacity for hydrogen production from the offshore wind power between the Helgoland and Doggerbank. Okay. So I'm not entirely sure they are located next to particularly Denmark, Norway, perhaps Scotland. I'm not entirely sure which kind of region we're referring to, but within that area, right? The AquaDuctus pipeline is the perhaps all of those. Why not all? As well as mainland, perhaps Europe. Why not all of those, right? So they could potentially establish like a land mass where they can generate all the electricity, so there would be not necessarily noise pollution or whichever way they might be interested in picking in a way how they can generate that electricity in the first place. And once they have that, they can lay down the pipes to why not all of those players, right? Which are highly intensive when it comes to perhaps need of electricity. But it seems like they're doing it where they're focusing on hydrogen in the first place. So the AquaDuctus pipeline is a vision of the first German offshore hydrogen pipeline. Once the construction of the production plants is fully completed, AquaDuctus shall transport up to 1 million tons of green hydrogen. I don't know, I have recently taken a look at what is 1 kilogram. 1 kilogram of hydrogen, what was compared by Americans, so 1 gallon. I'm not entirely sure that's a good reference point. So because there was Americans who referred to it, so perhaps it's not necessarily 1 liter of petrol compared to 1 kilogram of hydrogen. Perhaps there was one gallon that they compare against 1 kilogram of hydrogen. So in ways how it could be used, if that makes sense. Color green. That color is definition of how it's been produced. Green means it was produced using renewable sources, compared to perhaps as blue, which was using gas, right? Or gray, which is not necessarily the most environmentally friendly hydrogen, just because of the way how it was produced, right? annually from 235 onwards. Those contributions towards the carbonization of energy supply in Germany and Europe. Since people, perhaps most of the people do know that, but Germany doesn't really have that much nuclear power. So Germany is making a lot of investments in the ways how they looking to produce energy, right? So perhaps that with the hydrogen, how they perhaps launching some small projects if they would take off, who knows, right? But they're looking to phase out all the nuclear power. So they look into alternatives to that. AquaDuctus therefore is a key milestone in the implementations of the German and European hydrogen strategies. Compared to transport of electricity generated offshore, the pipeline offers clear economic advantages. AquaDuctus will replace 5 high voltage direct currents transmission systems. So I'm not entirely sure how they producing that. Perhaps they're using very cheap sources of energy production currently. And while they're doing it, I'm not entirely sure what's happening with that. Perhaps all the things are on hold for time being, right? If for whatever reason everything's on hold, perhaps they're looking to diversify it and invest in different projects where they're looking to produce all partly, perhaps starting with 5% of entire need and progressing from there, which will otherwise have to be a build. It is by far the most cost-effective option for transportation of large volumes of energy over a distance of more than 400 kilometers. So this is how far it is from the mainland Germany and how they're looking to do that when it comes to transportation, and they're looking to transport green hydrogen, which is kind of interesting. The first step in the AquaDuctus project is to carry out the detailed feasibility study, as it is with most of the projects, if it's feasible to do in the first place. So it's sort of research work that everyone would need to do, in particularly if it's impossible to do in some of those areas and some of the obstacles to address, in particular focusing a lot of risk involved with doing anything, and potentially how that risk can be mitigated or overcome in the first place. That would be part of the feasibility study that they're looking to do. AquaDuctus has also participated in the IPCEI, in the words, important project of common European interest. Okay. Since I was looking at some of those obstacles and how much that can potentially cost the German economy, then we look into alternatives, right? It can potentially cost a lot for taxpayers. Something that I was looking at yesterday, and how German media was sharing information. I don't know if it's accurate. They're saying that Germany is about 2% when it comes to CO2 emissions compared to other. I'm not entirely sure what kind of graphs they're using when they're comparing of how and what they are doing right within Germany right now. I think those numbers are way higher. Since we're talking about what number 3, number 4 economy by GDP, perhaps those numbers should be way higher than that CO2 emissions, right? Well, that's my own understanding. I don't know what kind of information and what they were comparing. So that I was trying to understand yesterday when we were taking a look at Germany. If not, they need to always look for ways to improve when it comes to energy production and use cases. And if we're talking about vehicle manufacturers, right? Let's take into effect if Germany, I don't know if it's a surprise, it's out there when it comes to vehicle manufacturers. So then we're taking into account how much vehicles been manufactured by Germany, and perhaps some of those vehicles not necessarily looking to diversify into other industries like electric vehicles. I'm not entirely sure if it's something it's easy to do with how hard it can be. So then we're taking a look at CO2 emissions and manufacturing. So perhaps it's a lot higher than 2%. It should be, I don't know. So it's vehicles that has been manufactured, perhaps not the process how it's been manufactured, but the vehicles that was manufactured by German as a nation, right? They how many emissions those vehicles are producing. So perhaps not necessarily that's 2%. Perhaps some of those vehicles should be powered by green hydrogen. Then I would agree with the 2%. Then I would definitely agree. And some of those decision makers and how they should make those decisions, and if we're taking environment seriously, everything what's a global warming, if we're taking it seriously, perhaps worth to take into account those into equation of those 2% of what would lead to down the line? Perhaps hydrogen and optimizing all the supply chain and those vehicles to be powered by hydrogen or green hydrogen. Ideally, great. Then it's definitely 2%. But again, there's a lot of investments that needed to be made, and if it's something that taxpayers or not necessarily limited to Germany are interested in investing in optimizing some of those processes, right? Process of German Federal Minister of Economic Affairs and Energy, since it would be perhaps it's on a not necessarily upswing, right? Currently, when we are taking a look at all output and production and what is economy is undergoing right now, if actually taxpayers are interested in investing some of those processes right now. Yourself, if you are interested in learning more, I have published a book, Game Strategy. Within this book, I'm taking a look at business, everything related to business, and I'm taking a look and looking to share as much information as I can with the people. Hopefully, it's something that we can do together, work together on different projects, right? But before we can do that, I am hoping to bring everyone's understanding when it comes to running business operations, right? So yourself, if you were to begin, it's something that we touch briefly, that would be a feasibility study or doing a lot of research, right? Before you can do anything, perhaps that's a good place to start, where you do a lot of research and trying to understand all the processes, I think what will be required to run the business from there. So stage one, progressing into stage two. Stage two can be taking action based on the research that you have done and operating as a business, starting business, setting up all these processes in place. Once you start generating resources, it could be a capital, it could be many different resources, right? So perhaps you can tap in a number of different resources when it comes to operating business, right? Once you have access to those, you can perhaps support other, so number three stage, that perhaps once you have those resources, you can tackle different issues. You might perhaps you would have financial resources, how you can optimize those or perhaps invest those resources. That and more you can find QR code in the corner and company's website below. If you would like to learn more, I can share a link in this video's description about this particular project and something that they are currently doing. Perhaps they're looking to roll out small-scale prototype. Perhaps it will be a good time to invest in some of those projects if it's something that you yourself are interested in. But again, I'm not your financial advisor. The only research this video is just for education and entertainment purposes only. There's the risk involved with everything, in particular taking resources away from you, which might be perhaps it's last resource that you have. You're not necessarily in place where you can lose hundreds or millions, right? There's a risk involved with everything. Perhaps hydrogen might be promising, but how long? Perhaps not next 5 years, not next 10 years, perhaps next 20 years. So, okay. So there's a risk involved. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.